Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Denise again with Microdose U. Hope you're all doing well and feeling well. Both Dr. Dave and I have had sort of this residual thing that's been hanging around, so you can kind of pick it up a little in our voices. Um, and so we're always taking very good care of ourselves. And this episode is particularly important in line with that exact goal. So, trying to take care of ourselves. And I'm going to ask you to stay to the end. I'm going to try to make this relatively short. So, stay till the end because I want to talk about a very helpful strategy that really is a game changer, whether you're microdosing psilocybin or LSD or not. It actually is something I do all the time. Been doing it way before I started microdosing, and it's extremely helpful. Goes along very well with the microdosing, as well as the goal to keep making every year better. Dr. Dave and I keep saying we're going to make 2026 the best year ever. And we mean that. I know a lot of people say, well, how could it always be the best year? And the answer is because we're always upgrading, we're always improving. And so that's why it's always the best year ever. We really are offering the best we can all the time and continuing to improve to help all of you. So I really do appreciate all of the questions. I'm going to get to those in just a moment here. I'm probably going to do a follow up to this because there's a lot of questions. Thank you, everyone, for sending them. But I do want to keep this relatively reasonably short. So I'm going to get to those questions right now. Actually, let's just jump right into that, and then we'll go right to the strategy that I'm talking about. This question is from Sarah. How do women's bodies and nervous systems tend to respond differently to microdosing compared to men, especially when women, we're talking about here, with to do with the women's hormones, stress, and the emotional load that are part of the picture? That is a great question, Sarah. So, as we always say here at Microdose U, everyone's going to be different. And I always talk about like kind of you're looking at these puzzle pieces and trying to figure out how to put them together. And they're moving puzzle pieces. So that's why it's always like we're always looking at how we do and the dynamics. It's an ever changing path as we're always working on that and healing. So with women, those puzzle pieces are going to include things like you're talking about, Sarah, hormones, stress, the emotional load being all part of the picture. And so, yes, I mean, I would say a good portion of my life, I've always heard this myth. It's just not true. Women are emotional. Don't be so sensitive. The reality is that people can be emotional and sensitive, and that's actually a good thing. I want to pick up what's going on and have those feelings and reactions. So, the unique aspect of women and emotion and physical health has to do with physiology. I mean, there's a lot that's in that as well, but the physiology, which a lot of people don't understand, the connection and relationship of the hormones, and we talk a lot about the estrogen, which men don't have, and those changes in estrogen, whether it's the menstrual cycle changes or perimenopause, menopause, severe drop off in estrogen. Remember, estrogen and serotonin very much linked. So when you have the drop of the estrogen, you're going to have a drop in the serotonin, and that's going to directly link to your physical health and your mood. It's why we have brain fog. That's directly affecting the brain function. So it's not just, oh, I'm a little sensitive during PMS because I'm just like that. There's literally physiology that's happening then. These are the things that we do see, and that's what we target with microdosing. So as you've heard in prior episodes, if it's a menstrual cycle change, that kind of PMS time, the time right before the menstrual part of the cycle, women can feel more tired, a little more sensitive, as in like, oh, everything's bothering me a little, or that noise is bothering me, or just kind of my body feels more achy. And that is a time that I often suggest people take the couple day break from microdosing, or lower their dose just a little bit. So this is the opposite during perimenopause and menopause. I'm getting a lot of questions about trying to clarify that. Just think opposite. So in the perimenopause, because everything starts not being a regular cycle, you want to regularly have a dosage happening. You don't want to take, breaks when you're feeling sensitive. I mean, yes, you can lower the dose a little. This is what the LSD microdosing is addressing, both in the menstrual cycle as well as in perimenopause, menopause. That this is what the LSD microdosing does a little bit better. So the psilocybin, the mushrooms, if you're feeling emotional, sensitive, brain fog, regardless of where in your life you're at, age, cycles, etc., you would lower maybe the psilocybin just a tiny bit. If you're in menopause, perimenopause, you don't want to stop it completely. You certainly can take breaks, but the consistency of the dosing is going to help in perimenopause and menopause. The LSD has the opposite effect. It has that calming effect, as you've heard me talk about. So you actually, what the new study is looking at that I've talked about out of Switzerland is that during sensitive times and PMS times, that's going to be a good time to microdose the LSD because it has the effect on calming that down. So these are the kinds of things that we look at. Certainly, men, women, everyone, we all feel stressed. So I'm hard pressed to find someone who doesn't have any particular stressors in their life. How we respond to those is where we actually have our control. If there's a lot of stress, I still have a lot of control what I do with that. As Dr. Dave says all the time, I am in control. And yes, the emotions and all that we do, men and women both. As I always say, these episodes are more often than not also relevant to men in many ways. So hopefully that answers Sarah's question. I'm going to go to the next question because they're a little more involved. So we'll save some of those questions for the next episode. So the next and last question for today is from Michelle. So here's the question. So many women carry invisible responsibility, family expectations, and emotional labor. How does that show up in the women you work with, and how can microdosing support them without adding pressure to fix themselves? That is a great question, Michelle. By the way, emotional labor, that's a term that I hadn't heard before, actually, until fairly recently. I know what it is, but I didn't hear that exact label of this concept, which is carrying not just emotions, not just dealing with your own or caring for other people, like if you have a child or an aging parent or caring for anybody, or even like in your workplace, being concerned about other people's emotions. And we are affected by that. So that is part of our emotional load, we'll say. Emotional labor technically is really about almost stifling ourselves, repressing what we're feeling, kind of keeping it in, so that we are protecting somebody else from those emotions. A benign example I use that I guess is important is like a flight attendant being frustrated with a customer and not yelling at them, not saying, stop asking me for the drink 20 times or something. So, flight attendants, a parent who's very frustrated with their child might not, say nasty things that they're thinking. So actually, that's a very important point. It's very important to have that conversation, even if you can't say it out. That's going to help you not feel as stifled. So if I wanted to say, if I'm the flight attendant, like, oh, you're such an annoying customer, I can think that in my head. And that actually helps. It may sound a little weird, but it does kind of release some of that frustration so I don't feel so stifled by that. So that's an example of emotional labor. So Michelle's question, how does that show up in the women that I work with, that we work with here at Microdose U, and how can microdosing support them without the pressure of more pressure to fix themselves? So there's nothing ever broken. when we talk about fixing something, I try not to use that word. It's not that there's something broken. We're upgrading, we're improving, we want things to be better. And so, what's really important as we're doing this work, the microdosing and the work alongside, I tell people I work with all the time, let's just see what happens. It's a dynamic, evolving path, and there's no pressure, there's no right way for things to go. And you're going to let the medicines guide you, and together you partner with the medicines. If it's somebody I'm working with, it's basically the three of us partnering, where I will work together with the person and we talk about what's in their desired outcome, what's their interest, how do they see their life improving, and that everything that feels like everything and anything that feels like it could be better is really an indication of where the growth is needed. So there's nothing to fix, we're upgrading. So that's part of not having that pressure, not having those expectations. So it's very important. So many times other people will have expectations of us. So it's so important that we don't do that to ourselves. I find that, people, women, maybe more so, I come across this all the time since I work with a lot of women. We're our hardest on ourselves. People are hard on us, but more often than not, we are our worst critic. We would never say the things we think about ourselves to anybody else. It would be like awful. Nobody would want to be your friend if you said those things. So, it's very important to have good conversations with yourself. So you can't unthink thoughts, but I always say you can add better thoughts. So, an example of part of what we do here to not feel like something is broken is, a negative thought. I'm not good at that. I'm a loser. Which is, I don't like to say that out loud because I know my cells are listening. No. So I don't say, oh, don't think that way, Dr. Denise. I say, okay, I noticed I just thought this negative thing about myself. Now let me add the upgrade. So the upgrade, by the way, is stated in the intention, the actual positive outcome. It's not the absence. I don't say, oh, I want to stop saying I'm a loser. What I say, I want to say, I believe in myself. I care for myself. I'm always trying to do my best. So it's stated with the affirmation, positive statements. So that's part of how we really can work with the load that we're carrying. I mean, most of us, if we take a moment, and this leads right into the strategy that I wanted to share with you here today. And thanks for staying on till the end. I promise you we're almost done. What we carry and how we carry these conversations in our head, these beliefs about ourselves, that there is so much we can do about that. It affects so much. We might not be able to control anything else around us. How we interact with the things around us, how we interact with pressures, responsibilities, the emotional labor, we have so much choice and control about that. So that leads me right to the strategy. So the strategy is really about taking the desired outcome and making it so now. A lot of people will say, how long do I have to do work with you, Dr. Denise, Dr. Dave? How long do I have to microdose before I see it working? I always say now. Now is when you're going to see that. Even if you don't see it, saying it's helping me now is a very powerful statement. Your cells are listening. Every part of your being hears that. So even if things are not exactly where you want them to be, if you say, I am well now, that is the intention, and it's already now. So as you work alongside with the medicines, you will notice for some people, it's right away. Everyone's different. For some people, it's immediate. I was one of those people. I started microdosing. I'm about almost into the 6th year. And the first dose I took, I felt it. Now, it was a microdose. I wasn't, I'm never talking about macrodosing. That's not something I've done and probably will never do. Microdosing. And I was just like a calm came over me about 45 minutes after taking my first microdose ever. And it stayed that way. And every time I would microdose, I would notice that I would feel more connected. I would feel calm, go about my normal business, felt like channels opened in my brain. I had a perspective about some unhealed trauma that I hadn't had before that felt like an immediate upgrade. And so that I was, and many people have that experience. Some people, they don't have that experience, and it may be more subtle. And it can take longer, and yet it's always working. I say to people all the time, it is working. Even if you don't notice that it's working, it's definitely working. So it is important to do the work alongside. So the strategy is really, if you want to do it with me right now, I'll close my eyes as that's helpful, because I really want to use the imagery and the conversation in my head. So if you take a moment, it's really 30 seconds. Take a moment, feel your feet. If you're standing on the ground, sitting, feel yourself sitting in the chair, and actually think of the things that you're working on, the intentions that you have set for microdosing. So see if you can really get clear on that. Something like, oh, I want to feel confident. I want to feel calm. I want to be able to sleep. I want to feel comfortable physically in my body. Careful not to say the absence of disease, because your brain will hear disease. So only those outcomes. So the example is, I want to see and feel myself calm, and really see that. Really see the desired outcome for just a moment as you're grounded. What that does, that's the complete exercise. And now you can do that with your eyes open. You can do it if you're going about your day, busy driving, because we always have images, and we always have conversation going on in our heads. So if I'm saying I'm calm, even when I might not be, I'm calm, I'm grounded, I feel well in my body. That message is being absorbed by every aspect of your body, every aspect of your being. So that's the whole strategy. Again, without even closing your eyes, you could be going around driving, and we can imagine things and picture and hear things in our own heads in conversation, because that's going on all the time, whether we realize it or not. So we really want to put in really good conversations and really good images. So by picturing the desired outcome, it's a little bit of your future self coming now to help your current self, and it's a partnership. So that's the whole strategy. Seeing myself comfortable in my body. I have a little arthritis that's gotten better with microdosing. So seeing my body, seeing my back feel comfortable, right? Not saying the absence of pain, seeing that my body is comfortable helps me now connect to being comfortable. So that's my future self. That's the desired outcome. So I want to stick with that person all day, every day, microdosing or not. So that's the strategy. I hope that this has been helpful. I will come back soon and answer some more questions. Again, like we always say, check the show notes if you'd like to join us on Patreon, the WhatsApp conversation. That's all the time. We have live meetings every week. Or if you want to work with us in the coaching to get this really dialed in, we do one-on-one, just you, very private consultations. We also have the program that's a little bit longer and more involved. And we work with all of the medicines that you hear us talking about, microdosing. So thanks. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you all soon.